the summer of 2000, Extreme Sports is notable for being one of the few cases where portable entry has overshadowed the home console release, in this case, a Dreamcast and PC release developed by Interloop Studios, sharing that uncommon honor with the likes of Kid Dracula on the Game Boy and Bionicle Heroes on the Game Boy Advance. Now this should go without saying, but being well recognized is not the same thing as displaying quality. All 4 of the Transformers movies were seen by millions of people, but you wouldn't consider that a worthwhile endorsement. Extreme Sports is certainly an important entry in Wayforward's dual-decade-spanning saga. It was their first dedicated foray into handheld gaming, beginning the self-described work-for-hire studios shift away from its previous, near-exclusive work on the PC platform, and placing a greater focus on handheld gaming, with the likes of Shantae and Sigma Star Saga among their earlier licensed work. However, its legacy and its importance overshadows the game itself, and how it's just as outdated as the decade it poorly depicts with this mildly miffing misspelling of the word extreme.
Because the defining characteristic of the 90s was also its most embarrassing.
It's summertime. The
Extreme
Cola Company is holding a competition on
Extreme
Island to discover who's the very best export athlete. Guppy and Finn, enticed by the prize money, decide to enter its split the winnings so they become the
Extreme
sports champion. So the goal is to collect a series of objects that signify overcoming a great challenge in order to compete among other individuals who've done the same, in order to determine who is the very best that no one ever weighed. This is just corporate-sponsored Pokemon, where the badges are earned by defeating other athletes instead of trainers. The game is essentially a challenge mode stretched out to a full-length campaign with 5 minigames to throw oneself into, none of which particularly stand out. Roller skating is an extremely sluggish affair that's as pleasant to wade through as several feet of snow during a basketball game in the middle of a blizzard. Skateboarding, on the other hand,
Everything in the 90s was either extreme, involved skateboarding, surfing, or a combination of the above.
it's just the roller skating minigame, except you can pull off more tricks by pressing the right buttons at the right time, and you have to tap the E button constantly to make your character move at a reasonable pace, which, considering that speed is one of the 3 categories that's weighed on at the end, along with scores and flags, becomes incredibly wearing on one's fingers, especially since the amount of speed on display makes it harder to turn around in the direction you want to go. Put simply, it's no Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Surfing.
Again, it wasn't skateboarding, it was surfing. You know how many times I've had to say extreme in this review? Too many takes. Way too many takes.
Is the most inoffensive of the bunch. Where skateboarding was ultimately frustrating, this one lacks the fortitude to leave any sort of impression, unlike Street Luge, which sticks out like a sore thumb for choosing to go with this overhead view not present in any of the other modes, and with good reason. This eagle-eye view makes landing those jumps and sliding through gates much less precise with the slippery controls, not to mention that the limited screen space and palette of the Game Boy Color, more on that in a moment, makes it more difficult to tell what is and isn't an obstacle. Upon first glance, these pylons look more like apples than they do orange cones, something you only find out until after you collided with one of them. Skyboarding is the best of the 5, though that's more by default. The best way to describe it would be the dancing minigame from the original Shantae, except instead of earning money, they add to your high score, with longer combos translating into earning more points, which at least grants this minigame some semblance of structure that the other 4 lack. Unfortunately, even this mode isn't free from fatal flaws, as it suffers from a full obscuring foreground that can turn a lengthy combo into a waste when a covered-up enemy comes careening towards you. All of these underwhelming modes are taught through an abysmal tutorial that's prevented from being disposable by virtue of being mandatory. Credit where it's due, aside from roller skating and skateboarding, these minigames are distinct, certainly more so than the challenges that are meant to flesh out these skeletons. The missions are lacking variety beyond setting up ridiculously high expectations. What makes this especially frustrating is that the 3 of categories you're judged on aren't weighed equally. If, say, you get a better score and more flags, but you didn't get a better time than your opponent, you lose. If your time and score are good, but you just missed out on the last flag, you lose. Even the early portions will expect nothing less than perfection, if not as close to as humanly possible. Like the various sports each minigame is based on, it requires constant dedication to improve your technique to the point where you can seamlessly fulfill the necessary requirements a given medal asks of you. In other words, it's about as enjoyable as taking cycling lessons that your parents force you into, and no mom, I don't want to play the piano either. Why won't you just let me do what I want? Just let me go skiing. The biggest problem is the Game Boy Color itself. Given the combination of the system's small screen, the limited palette to detail obstacles and characters on set screen, and the brisk nature of these minigames, it's far too common to collide with an obstacle given how little time there is to react upon its entrance in the screen. That said, while limited in color and occasionally confusion with sprites such as the aforementioned pylons,
Extreme
Sports does showcase some impressive sprite work from Wayforward's early works. Though not quite up to par with the original Shantae, it makes for what approaches the qualifications as a highlight for this game, with detailed character animations that come complete with booty and butt shaking details for Guppy. Did I mention this character is 16? As in, underage, and she has a visible bathing suit riding up something fierce. Yep. Questionable attention to detail aside, it's a shame that such a good-looking lead effort on the system was sounded with an unusually grating soundtrack and far more dull game design to boot.
Going back to one of Wayforward's earlier works has revealed how much more experienced they become as a developer, because Extreme Sports, it has not aged well outside of aesthetics. As far as the retro sports games go, you're better off playing one of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games or Techno Super Bowl rather than picking through the bits and bytes of this bland but ultimately important title in their library. That's all for now, folks. Tune in tomorrow, I'm going to take you back to the past. Again. The far off year that is 2009, and a much happier time than we are currently living in. But until next time, game on, my friends. 2016 has been awful.